Hello and welcome to this free one of Trashfuture. I'm going to keep talking
it's
so
the
Milo
free
can
one.
Damn it.
The free one.
It's the free one.
It's the free one.
It is Milo, Riley, and Alice, and we are talking about a few things today.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things that have come up in the news.
I love how you open the podcast with a sort of table of contents like a staff meeting. I really appreciate that.
And then any
talking
other
about
business.
a few things.
Yeah. We're going to talk about someone who has been not refilling the coffee after they have completed a pot.
AOB in Trashfuture actually stands for any other bits.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Don't have any final bits.
No. We're doing no more bits. It's a bit-free podcast now.
Oh no! What?
I'm afraid there's been we've buried Jerk Vanderclerk at sea.
No bits, no pulp. That's the Trashfuture promise.
No fat on this one at all.
No, just all dry analysis.
Yeah. Welcome to the Financial Times Alphaville podcast. I am.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like the animating energy that keeps this thing moving forward.
Oh fuck! Do the Financial Times Alpha guys listen to this? Like, we're really we love you guys.
Is my desire? It's
Sigmaville now. They're rebranding.
Yeah, the FT Sigmaville is what Sephiroth reads when he wants to find out what to invest in.
Turns out it's always Shinra.
No. So we got a few things. Got to talk about some news up front, and then we spoke to two guys from Germany who are working on
two guys from Germany.
2 guys from Germany.
Two brothers
who are involved in making a reference to that show. 2 guys who are involved in the unionization of gorillas, one of these 10-minute or less horror grocery delivery
not
apps.
the animal, not the primate.
No, they're not trying to unionize gorillas.
This isn't a Harambe bit from 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Together strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, more or less. Yeah.
It would be fun if you were able to mobilize gorillas to help you gain working condition improvements from your employer.
Coco the gorilla would be a fantastic aid to any strike.
Yeah. Well, no, it's called the AMC. It's called the AMC. You can buy it on Robinhood. Speaking of dumb financial shit, before we get into that, I've got a price update on the most expensive NFT ever sold. If you remember, it went for approximately $70 million. It was by the digital artist Beeple.
Great name. Yeah. I immediately like him just based on the name alone.
So if you all remember, we talked about this a few months ago. When it was sold to this guy, Meta Kovan, who's had an NFT fund or what. It was clearly
the guy's called what?
You don't know. It's internet shit. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. I've never been. What's a computer?
Summarized.
Sorry, do I need a computer for this?
So the basically, right? If you remember, the guy who bought it for a huge amount of money because he stands to earn a lot of money from NFTs being worth a lot, basically. So it was kind of a bit of a shell game.
Supply and demand, baby.
It was a shell game on his behalf. Anyway, wouldn't you know it? His token connected to that fund is now worthless.
Huh.
Amazing.
It turns out that buying a JPEG for $70 million, buying a link to a particular JPEG for $70 million, not a good investment.
So you're telling me that the invisible hand has reasserted itself and the laws of markets have once again acted rationally.
What I love about the invisible hand is it feels like someone else is doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think what happened with the whole NFT, I think we can look. Buying and selling never stops. This may go back up again and will look like rubes later, but for now, the whole
for now it's a good buy. Yeah. Is that if you want to make us
investment advice?
Legally, you should not buy it.
Legally, we bought it.
Yeah. People of color, is that a thing?
It is not.
Investing heavily in TF Rube on the Nasdaq.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
Rubecoin.
Rubecoin. It's the
Russian
the
Rubecoin.
Anyway, so it feels as though essentially, with the economy tried to sit on its hand. On the invisible hand, so it would feel like it was someone else. Turns out, feeling does come back eventually, and the thing is, it's now nothing.
Wait, do you mean I am doing this? Oh no, that's gross. I'm a guy.
This has been made worthless.
What, I'm gay now? Ach nein.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like
Hello, it's me.
okay, I'll wait.
Yo-
That's fine.
Yeah, just fine. Finish the bet.
That's fine.
Johan van Nob. Yeah.
And
Johan
Van
Van Nob.
Oh,
He's
yes.
the NFT department.
A very new. I mean, because I think Beanie
Yeah.
Babies lasted longer than this.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
I think Beanie Babies have retained more value long term than this.
What's the most expensive Beanie Baby? That's my question.
Yeah. Well.
Mm.
What Beanie Baby has sold for the most amount of money?
One of those ones that's full of cocaine.
Well, there was one
Unique
that's
Epstein-themed Beanie Baby.
Princess the Bear sold for $500,000, which seems like quaint.
Mm.
There were just CryptoPunks, like 16-bit images of guys. It's just a 16-bit image of a person. That would sold for well over the most expensive Beanie Baby. I feel like what that means, like, if the scams are going exponentially higher in value, or at least sort of the stupid scams that fall apart right away, as opposed to the other scams that end up getting sort of just kicked down the road by all the zombie
the things
credit.
that are going to end up dynamiting our economy.
Well, someone actually mentioned to me the other day, they brought up to me if I remembered crypto kitties. And this is someone who doesn't listen to TF, and I was like, fuck, we talked about that years ago, prefiguring this whole thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We still have a couple because some fans gave them to us.
They're now worth a fortune.
No.
Shit. Oh, sorry. Immediately closing all of my Zoopla windows.
Yeah.
Just
Well, it'll have to. I'll live to fight another day.
Hello, is that the Bentley garage? Yeah, there's been an issue.
Look, I'm sorry. The JPEG of a cat just wasn't worth what I thought it was.
It's your cousin Marvin Bentley.
Yeah, I have a great idea for a car.
Marvin Bentley, plausible England footballer name.
Yeah, well, from the
Definitely
70s.
true. Like left wing.
No, like mid 2000s, like kind of like sub, got like 4 caps.
Mm-hmm.
Was playing for like Aston Villa.
Yeah, there's like
Came
a
on
photo
against
of,
Croatia
like,
in a second half one.
Yeah, there's a photo of like Marvin Bentley hugging David Seaman after penalties. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Well,
Came on to immediately miss a penalty.
Oh, yes.
Well, Marvin
No
Bentley.
criticism on players who've come on and immediately miss penalties. Some of them are very nice boys who we like very much.
Yeah, but in
It is
this
just
case,
objectively quite funny to come on
Yeah.
immediately in the 120th
Come on,
minute.
Marvin. I mean, it was a group stage game. I believe England would have been knocked out therein. Yeah, but Marvin Bentley. Don't even remember him. Not a fantastic failure.
Marvin Bentley. We went out to the last game played by Yugoslavia.
Yeah, plausible.
Yeah, among out to D Reams. Things can only get better.
England somehow going out to Kosovo before Kosovo even existed as a state. Yeah.
But look, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about before we talk to the two guys from Gorillaz, or from the Gorillaz Union.
Is it Marvin Bentley?
Marvin Bentley actually has been selected as a.
Yeah, I'm thinking be a lot of Marvin Bentley content.
I think Marvin Bentley's here to stay, folks.
Anyway, we spoke to Damon Albarn about unionizing.
No, so
welcome to 90s Trash Future, the by far the most cursed of our like Trash Future in the past things.
Groovy, yeah.
So are we
all wearing Union Jack t-shirts?
Oh, very much so. I guess like because when stuff in America and Canada rebranded for the 90s, I'll give you an example. What happens is like and you can hear the amount of cocaine, right, that I'm about to that's involved in all of these decisions, right? Which is we're going to bring back the Looney Tunes as slick, foul-mouthed superheroes that have been redrawn for the 90s, and they're called the Lunatics.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
We did that kind of thing. You guys over here did a different thing in the 90s, which was,
We did a deeply cursed cultural ritual known as Britpop or Cool Britannia.
Yeah, when you had the mini with the Union Jack on it.
Yeah, you got. There was a kind of like. I mean, look. As often as people in the Labour Party, which we will talk about briefly in a moment, if only to gloat, No, Alice, don't worry. We're gloating.
Okay.
But
It's just gloat. It's only gloating.
as much as
We're not going to talk about it in seriousness.
they're becoming more like Jerry Seinfeld by the week.
That was a deliberate Seinfeld there.
So it's.
Why can't I gloat?
You can gloat. You can gloat.
Oh, that's gloating.
I couldn't go out with him.
Someone gloating in here?
I couldn't go out with him. He was a gloater.
We're going a little bit Trump
Just
there.
doing Trump
We gotta get those routers.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't even wait. There's so many fake votes even without the routers. But if they would just give us those routers and what they would show.
Because the thing is,
The routers, folks.
but Elaine has we're getting so distracted.
It's me, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I'm one of the sexiest women who's ever lived, and I'd like to see those routers. If you sees Milo's router, do you know what it would be? It'd be a lot of searches for pictures of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. That's what it would be.
Well,
so we're gonna look into that router very strongly.
But okay,
I say Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I mean me, of course, because that is who I am. That's this voice.
She has a Trumpy way of talking when she wants to make a point. Yeah.
A little bit. And now that you've said that, you've ruined Julia Louis-Dreyfus for all of us.
The thing about George Costanza is he's pathetic.
When I do an impression of Elaine, I'm always thinking of her saying, "He took it out," which you haven't gotten to yet in Masters of Our Domain, haven't you?
No.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess you will eventually.
I never take it out, personally.
Yeah, keep it in.
Yeah, keep it in.
Keep it in. Mormon soap.
I'm always saying keep it in. Okay. But I feel like the 90s rebrand.
Listen to Masters of Our Domain. If you think we've talked about Seinfeld too much on this show, listen to Masters of Our Domain where we do not talk about Seinfeld.
I'm just enjoying the experience of the listener who is presently going to Google Mormon soap.
That's a cursed thing.
I explained that to a girl on a dating app once, and she was like, "What?
Under what possible context?"
I can't even remember.
Immediately.
Could you have been like, "Hey, baby, want to try a Mormon soak? By the way, I have a podcast."
Hey, baby, want to try a Mormon soak?
Hey,
It's a powerful opener.
Greek style love? No, thank you. I'm here for Utah
New Twitter
style.
bio. Yeah.
Turkish style love, yeah.
But look, what I was saying.
They call it Greek style, but it was invented in Turkey.
What I was saying. Look, everyone loves the Greek Air Force.
Yeah, in Turkey, it's called a Turkish
Jesus
soap.
Christ, we're actually going to damage the guerrillas' unionization effort. This is good. Look, we all have rain madness.
One guy sat in the corner of the union meeting just going, "Yogurt invented in Turkey."
Okay.
You are dog people.
What I was saying is that oopsie doopsie.
What were you saying?
Party's out of money.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's a shame.
Oh,
They should have bought less crypto.
if only they hadn't purged all of those members for no reason.
I actually a lot of people just left voluntarily. If you look at, because this has now been dragging on for a while. If you look at the groups that they prescribed, most of those people had already left. They're just preventing them from rejoining. But now they're basically saying, "Oopsie poopsie, we only have a month of money left, so we're going to have to make a bunch of you all redundant."
It might have been a mistake for Keir Starmer to go on TV and say that labor unions were, scum. And that he despised them, that he didn't want their money under any circumstances.
Perfect. That's perfect.
That's where you get closest to Partridge. Scum. Subhuman scum.
Yeah. Look, the thing is, I don't know. Look, they basically, what they've done is they've just brought in all of they've basically done an Expendables of the just most, just some of the most wretched people in Britain. They brought everyone back from the 90s.
Oh yeah,
Jim
it's
Davidson.
fucking great, right? Because you're expected to know who these people are, and so you'll see a bunch of tweets from Labour MPs and semi-friendly journalists being like, Giles Brunt is back. Serious worries for Johnson now.
Oh, not Giles Brunt.
Competency has returned to the room as Anthony Quim has re-entered
Marvin
the Labour
Bentley
Party.
returns as Shadow DCMS. Who many of you might remember from Euro 2000.
So what?
And it's no, these people only remember each other from jerking each other off at parties in the 90s.
I thought someone else was doing that.
No one else. Well, exactly. Nobody else knows who they are, but they're so concerned with their own self-satisfaction. They're very happy that we've got all of these people back, and now we're going to take the fight to the Tories. What are the polls looking like?
It's fantastic.
I think they should only be allowed to bring back deceased Labour MPs from the Blair era. Let's get Robin Cook. Let's get Mo Mowlam. Let's get a shadow cabinet that's been entirely necromanced.
Yeah,
I think Peter Mandelson you can include in that for reasons of general vibe.
Are you basically suggesting that you could replace certain elements of PMQs with a knock seance?
Yeah, I'd like that if they had like a Ouija board.
It's Robin Cook has knocked 3 times to indicate that Boris Johnson is a boor without credibility.
That's right. Keir Starmer convening with the spirits, like him in a big robe at PMQs.
No, well, so
holding hands with Boris Johnson around a candle.
And again, the same friendly journalist just sort of crowing approvingly, like, "Ooh, he's got him on the ropes now. He's summoned the spirit of Keir Hardie."
David Kelly, is that you? You were murdered by who?
PMQs is enough of a like obscene, like incomprehensible ritual that it may as well be, because every time you actually watch the damn thing, for some reason, because you have nothing better to do, you put it on. Like in the Corbyn years, right? You put it on, you'd see Jeremy Corbyn putting what seemed like quite reasonable and like principled objections to government policy, and then you'd see like a bunch of guys who like write under big caricatures of themselves in Sunday papers going, "This was the worst PMQs ever. Corbyn must resign after this disgraceful performance." And then you go back now and you watch this and you see Keir Starmer sort of like following sort of the same lines but worse. And you look in those same papers and the same people are going, magisterial performance, serious questions for Boris Johnson. And you're just like, this isn't real. This is fake. This is just a black box that like you extract the conclusion that you want to get out.
Yeah, well, the thing is, for all of these like friendly journalists and all these people, and we've said this before, but it's always been about how it makes them feel, right? And that's why the whole thing begins to take on the feel of a cargo cult. Where we're just saying, where we've got like, the coconut headphones and we're building like the tower and we're saying, ooh,
listening to this coconut.
I do not have any coconut headphones.
Roger Gunch is back, and he certainly is going to be making waves as the head of communication and strategy. And again, it's one of these guys, but because the thing is, right, Blairism like had an actual political project and was a response to the changes of the 1990s. Yeah. Right? It was...
Yeah, put Union flags on clothing.
And like the thing is, those conditions have changed, and the entire struggle.
Yeah, because it's not cool
entire
anymore.
Struggle.
I've just had a call from Keir Starmer. He's told me the 90s are back, and that I have to stop being a renowned cosmologist and go back to playing the keyboard in a band called D-Ream.
But we talk about it being a cargo cult because it's sort of such cart before the horse reasoning. It's like, well, if we can... Now, there's several levels here, right? Level 1 is like, well, what? You're just going to try to do the same stuff now with the same band, and we can just make it the 90s again.
Yeah, like the tactics aren't working, but what if we brought the guys back? Yeah. Maybe the guys will have some ideas.
And like the thing is, if you were a social democratic party in the 1990s, you probably were, or vaguely, right? You probably were panicking because history has ended, the Soviet Union is gone, the Union flag is fucking everywhere, and everyone's loving grooving to the sounds of Blur. And
big house in the country, that's what everyone wants.
The third way, the reason like it sort of emerged everywhere all over the place at the same time is that was kind of the way that you respond to that, is you're like, well, okay, well, we accept all of this, we're just going to try to be nice about it. And it works because it only works if you have a once in a generation charismatic politician, a fucking Obama. That works if it's him. And then the whole job, right?
I think there's someone you're forgetting.
the whole job of of these guys now, they succeeded in a time. They came of age in the 70s, right? And the
hang
80s.
on, who came of age?
But if you come of age in the 70s and the 80s, your experience is of humiliation and apology constantly, right? That's what you do because your story that gets accepted is that the union, not a global energy crisis, but the unions basically brought the world to its knees by being like slightly too greedy and there being one too many libraries or whatever.
But bodies being unburied, garbage piling up in the streets.
But if you actually, there's a few things, right? And then the fix to that, the sort of financialization of everything, that turns out to just be like this sort of tape and gum, more or less, patching everything over. It works for a while. It falls apart because it's a flashy but ultimately low quality way to run a society. Yeah. But your whole experience is of that working, and the whole point is to pretend that 2008 never happened, and that you can just sort of. You can keep responding to all of those other things.
Wait, what happened in 2008? Anyway, 1 second. I'm just going to check my Bear Stearns stock.
But also, like, if you think this is something I think is worth remembering. Actually look at the crashes, the differing crashes and the sizes of the crashes in 79 and 2008. One is not very big in comparison to the. Now, part of that is because the economy keeps growing and all of this. Like, it's not, you can't compare apples and it's not apples and apples.
Yeah.
But it's not as though that disturbance.
What if someone threw stones at those apples?
That's right.
Yeah.
It would be a chart crime to be like, this number bigger than that number, therefore this less bad. But like, growth got back pretty quickly, just as it did after 2008. And the whole project of just trying to pretend that these things never happened and that these changes never occurred is one that, I mean, I'm very excited to see how it's going to do. Especially now that we have, Bertram Crump back as head of. They appointed their new head.
I love Bertram Crump. Very buttery staircase.
One of they're now actually they're even picking people who are proven losers, right? Like, of course,
proven losers,
because
pathetic.
they're proven losers. Yeah. They are the haters and losers.
Yeah. It was,
and I remember them on 9/11.
If you remember, Harriet...
a very happy Thanksgiving.
Never been a better post
haters
than
and
that.
losers.
Harriet Harman's old chief of staff has actually rejoined...
If I remember Harriet Harman's old chief of... What the fuck kind of loser do you take me for that I would remember Harriet Harman's... I barely remember
Harriet Harman coming back wouldn't really be much as a news item.
If you remember, her old chief of staff... Well, when Harriet Harman was the interim leader, she commissioned a report on... Her main recommendation was to commission a report on labor in government by a Tory.
Oh, fuck. Not an interim leader's
but
report.
The idea was to commission a Tory to write the report on the performance of the Labour Party so they'd know what to apologize for.
Oh, they're such rubes.
Losers!
Yeah. Rubecoin, it's going up.
Anyway,
it is really Rubecoin.
I'm very excited to see them all
none
in
of
there.
these people in the Conservative Party could have an ideological axe to grind against we in the Labour Party, so we can trust them to be independent arbiters over what we should and shouldn't apologise for.
I mean, like, just the final thing, right, is all of this has culminated basically in essentially a organization that seems pretty broken from the outside. That is basically doing to its own staff. By the way, its staff, many of whom may have gone to bat for this kind of outcome, let's say, is giving all of its staff basically firing and rehiring them under insecure contracts. And essentially trying to, completely downsize. Now, I think if you wanted to say re-engineer an organization and retool it to your own ends, then just saying there's a financial crisis and we have to clean house is a great way to do that. So I don't take any of these people at their word. But boy, is an organization I like to see flail. So proud we are all of that.
Incredible stuff.
Anyway,
yes, good.
If we want to talk, though, about some of what's actually going on in actual efforts to improve actual working conditions for actual workers, then I suggest we throw to ourselves in the past to speak to the guys unionizing gorillas.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, we are just here for our segment where we are talking to Yasha and Fernando from the who are two of the workers in Germany who are organizing the Gorillas food delivery company. Yasha, Fernando, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a long day, but all good.
Indeed. So, look, I mean, this is it's part of like I'd say a rising trend, right, of gig economy workers who are unionizing, working together to try to take the fight up against the frankly insane people who open a lot of these businesses. So how have your experiences been so far starting the union in Gorillas?
It's been a long ride. We've been at it since early February. I joined Gorillas end of January, so it's basically 2 weeks in, and we started organizing there. Hasn't been easy. There's been lots of ups and downs. But in the last month, I'd say it's been a little bit too much ups for us. Like we weren't ready for all this attention that we started getting about a month ago. It's been pretty crazy since then. Yeah.
So just a little bit of background on this, right? Gorillas is one of several companies that have all popped up kind of all at once. Other similar companies, at least in the UK, are called Getter, Dija, Wheezy, Zap, Fancy.
Okay, so at least two of these you've made up.
Fancy is the one that only delivers to Riley. It's just the bounty of the sea.
Yeah,
that's all
right.
they deliver.
It's only oysters. These are all basically just rejected panels from 1960s Batman comic books.
Yeah,
very onomatopoeic companies.
Biff, Pow, and Kablamo.
Yeah, I'm ordering some detergent from Biff.
Yeah, that's actually a plausible British detergent. Yeah,
I hate that. And what all these companies have in common, they all were started very recently, and they all promise something like delivering you a full load of groceries, food.
Yeah, delivering you a full load.
Yeah, food, detergent, soap, whatever you need, in 10 minutes. That seems to me very far-fetched. How is that possible? I look to you guys, Yasha and Fernando. How do they manage 10-minute delivery?
Yasha, you want to answer?
Yeah, please.
No, go ahead.
Well, to be honest, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that it's because we are working there and we are working really hard. Pickers don't stop working. They are like going crazy with this sound when the new order comes, and they must feel everything in less than 1 minute. Otherwise, they might be punished. At least in my warehouse, every week they have a meeting where they can tell you how fast you are when you are picking. And also, we must work under really, really big pressure because we only have 10 minutes to deliver. And sometimes the backpacks are really, really hard, heavy. No?
Yeah. And presumably that 10 minutes, does that include like the time it takes to pick the stock as well? So
start to finish. You hit the button, you have your oysters or whatever in 10 minutes.
Yeah, is that correct?
Honestly, it's not really clear for us how the whole thing works. Sometimes, I think it has come to our attention that actually what happens is that before the customer even does the payment, goes through with the payment, that the order is already ready. Because I think as the customer is choosing the products, the order is being prepared. That's one theory.
Yeah.
But now we don't really know. But the thing is also we should take into account that these dark stores, or as Gorillas prefers to call them, warehouses, which is it's not really a warehouse. I mean, it's like everything's really crammed together, and you use the bathroom sink as the kitchen sink, and the toilet as the bathroom sink, or I don't know. It's all they're all really we don't really go far away from there. It's not like takeaway or something where we deliver around the city. It's like there's a radius that keeps on expanding, unfortunately, to which we deliver. So we know the area pretty well where we are, and that makes it possible. Especially where we work, it's all downhill, so it's pretty.
It's downhill in both directions somehow. So
thank goodness.
Yeah,
we've kind of seen this before with food delivery, where we've had dark kitchens, right? So this is similar to that. It's a dark grocery store, right?
Well, some are literally dark. But
Oh, perfect. Even better.
The Berghain grocery store.
Yeah.
It's very European.
So basically, right, I mean, this company, and this is just one of Gorillas, is just one of these companies that has taken basically this business model, which is to, hyper exploit, as we've been talking about, so just some of the ways, right, by making conditions poor, by making the work sort of extremely pressed and difficult and so on. They've used that to drive a valuation now of over $1 billion. And again, they're sort of taking advantage of those trends where prime real estate in cities is becoming available. And there are yes, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
It's so great that you could get millions of dollars worth of funding off of the principle that, well, if it takes one man an hour to dig a hole, then it'll take 60 men 1 minute to dig that hole.
That's right.
And this, we sort of talked about this sort of coming, right, where this kind of economy is that where it makes this labor invisible by putting a glossy app on it is basically just going to get more and more intense. And one of the things you guys have talked about, right, is one of the things that we think of that you're thinking about is like, well, how does it work? How does the logic work? And like, how have you guys, as a gig union, confronted the fact that like the app developer doesn't want you to know really how the app works?
I don't know, like we don't really seem to care about how the app works. Like on an actual day-to-day basis, like if you would happen to stumble upon one of these warehouses and would look inside, you'd realize that the app is kind of like not that important, that actually everything. I mean, if we didn't have an app and people were just calling in and saying, hey, I need this, it would all just like work the same way, because apart from the ordering part, there's literally no technology involved.
Yeah.
Right. But without
it's
the
a
app,
technology company.
Yeah, because the app is so that all the venture cap guys go like, ooh,
cool.
Oh, it's on the computer.
Yeah, I think it's another example of taking labor and tricking people or tricking like the end consumer into thinking it and the investor into being like, ooh, this is a high tech company. When it's like, no, it's not, the app is barely that important. It is literally about sort of having this flexible, exploitable labor pool and like all of these buildings that no one knows. Hey, remember that restaurant you used to like? Sorry, it's a dark store now.
Well, and in fact, that was a very Freudian slip, confusing the investor and the end consumer. Because as we know, with these companies, the end consumer is the investor.
That's right.
Because one of my friends works in tech, and so he's always abreast of like whatever the scam going is, and he knows that at the moment all of these delivery grocery companies are giving you like 60% off your first order. So he's been making like one order from each company and ordering like ludicrously expensive shit, and has been like living like a king. And I'm like, yeah, because this isn't a business about actually making money from customers. It's about a business about convincing investors to go like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean it's telling, right? That and that they're dumping money into subsidizing as big and frequent orders as they can, and just turning to you guys and being like, well, I hope you love cycling. Basically, is that sort of what you see as the case actually working there?
I think that is the case. That I don't know. The CEO lives in Jupiter or something like that, and he thinks that we are doing this because we love cycling. But at the end, we just got this. It's not even just a minimum wage, no. So I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
I think like in the job description, it should be rather like not that like you just like cycling, but you like cycling with 20 kilograms on your back.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what they don't say, no?
Yeah, because you're hard. It's about being like an army guy.
Yeah.
They could you could get management consultants doing this in their spare time if you convinced them that it was like a cool guy thing to do.
Oh yeah,
like
totally.
in the blistering heat, 20 kilos on your back. Are you tough enough?
So you're just
It's
basically
a tough mudder. Yeah,
that's right.
It's an obstacle run.
Yeah, that's right. They're all just running, not even bikes.
Now, so I mean, it's not difficult to see, right? Why under these conditions, like workers are organizing. I mean, before we sort of go into like how Gorillas has responded, I just want to know like what are some of the things that of the things that you're comfortable talking about publicly? What are some of the things that we're trying to get?
I think it's quite easy. We just want better working conditions. That's all. At the end, we are not asking for anything crazy. We just want better working conditions.
Like a few weeks ago, at one of the protests that we had in front of the headquarters, that's like a regular issue that we have every single month. People don't get their full pay. Like there's always money missing, and yeah, that's the most recurring issue that we have. But it's like interlaced with a lot of other issues, and like we came up with this demand list. We made an assembly there at the protest. Like there was like 50, 60 writers, pickers, etc. And we came up with these like 19 demands. And when we show these demands to people who have like no idea about, like who are not on the inside or on the outside, like everyone's like, yeah, these are like really standard things. Like, so like we're saying that like let like Gorillas fulfill this demand so that we could have like the minimum bearable working conditions in the company. Yeah, there's nothing special like rain gear. Like it's like we're employees. We're not freelancers or anything here. they have to provide us all equipment, shoes. We learned that a few months ago, like work phones. I mean, we shouldn't have to like have some like drunk customers calling us the next day and like, I don't know, like molesting us on the phone or something. This happens too. Like people, like sometimes there's discrepancies in the wages. Like some of us are getting 12 euros an hour who started earlier. The others who started more recently are getting 10.50. Like sexual harassment at the workplace, discrimination. It goes on and on actually, but all of these things are like really, really, really basic.
And you're basically saying, if I understand it right, you're saying we already have these rights.
Yeah.
Please act accordingly.
Yeah. It's something we've noticed a lot dealing with like these kind of like app based jobs where in this sense where you're doing something was being ordered by a customer by like Uber or delivering food or whatever it might be, that essentially these companies are performing a kind of trick where they're sort of circumventing all previous like labor regulation. And so you get these kind of like surreal things like when they were trying to force Uber to pay the minimum wage in London. They were like, we can't pay the minimum wage. That'll destroy our business. Like, yeah, but everyone else does. Like, what the fuck? Like, hang on. No, everyone else has been doing this for years.
And the thing is, right, in order to try to keep, because, there's a few peculiarities, right? One of them is that Germany especially has like a weird, like at the highest levels of government and stuff, has a weird insecurity about its tech sector not being very good, which is why like they allowed Wirecard to get away with what they got away with for so long.
Yeah.
And all this, like, because they were like, no, and so Germany is going to be pretty is generally without like actual pressure and a popular movement, I imagine would be pretty ready to look the other way because they'd be like, oh, gorillas, it's our unicorn. We lost Wirecard. We have gorillas now. We matter on the world stage as a tech hub. I mean, I don't know if you guys have sort of seen that end of it at all, but from looking at Germany, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's been a lot of startups popping up here in the last 10 years, which have just like built new cities within the city. Like Zalando has like a university-sized campus right in the center, like in the touristic area here, right across from the wall or whatever's left of the wall. But honestly, like, I'm personally kind of outside of this tech sector. I mean, I think you realized when I couldn't get the earphones working for a while.
Yeah. Well, lots of them can't. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, If you're too in the tech sector, then you have a guy to get the earphones working.
Yeah. One of the rules of working in tech is you have to be very stupid.
Yeah, that's one of the key things. But so let's talk a little bit about how Gorillaz has been responding. Right, they've done the usual PR bullshit where the CEO, a guy called Kagan Sumer, has just said, "Oh yeah, he just loves cycling, so he wanted to share cycling with others."
That's so generous of him.
Huh. That's cool.
He just wants to share cycling with others in a way that makes him personally a billionaire.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, being a delivery rider is kind of like doing the Tour de France, but in a very condensed area, and that's how you should think of it.
Yeah, a woman hops out in front of you with a sign.
Yeah.
Cool.
It says, "Please bring me my wine." And in response to the union, they've said, again, like, this is kind of goes back to the theme of what you were talking about, which is we're just demanding our literal, actual legal rights. Gorillaz has said, well, we support the idea of a workers' council, such as employees' interests being represented on the board, basically, right? And but we know, like, that's kind of bullshit, right?
That's what they need to say, no? Otherwise, he would get in trouble. I mean, it's PR, pure PR.
Yeah.
Well, and also, isn't that a legal requirement in Germany to have worker representation on the board anyway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we will obey the law.
No, they need to have worker representation on the board if they go public, like if they do like an IPO or something.
Yeah.
But like a workers' council is not exactly workers' representation on the board. It's like what Germany came up with at the time and where they were like shifting towards corporatism back like in the Weimar Republic, which is basically like it's like kind of similar to what a union is, but the idea was actually to make unions irrelevant back in the day. Like a workers' council consists of workers in the company who are basically distancing themselves from like the workers. Like basically they get like new powers. They have the right to information within the company. They have the right to implement some changes. And basically, like if they go to court, the company has to pay for the costs of both like their own legal costs and also those of the workers council. Like the workers council doesn't really get like any budget or anything, but like anything they need, the company has to like bring them like put it like at their feet, you know. It's kind of a complicated legal thing that exists like in Germany, Austria, the Netherlands too, I think. But it's also like it's like a watchdog over the company. It has like some like they have, for example, like the ability, like the legal right to check schedules, like make sure the schedules are according to what the workers want, or to enforce equal pay for the same work. But there is no membership. There is no like at the same time when Germany introduced workers' councils, they made union membership an individual choice. So it's kind of like two fronts here.
Yeah,
you know?
sort of like seeing off because it's seeing off the potential power of the union, realistically, right? So it's like and I'd imagine, right, if Gorilla's this company is already kind of trying to do that trick where it says, "Oh, we're just a technology company, we're just an app," you know, we're going to kind of circumvent obeying the literal
it's
law.
My birthday,
right? That are we saying the workers' council probably isn't enough to basically bring them to heel?
It sounds like having work prefects. That's what it sounds like.
But do we think like the reason, if I'm sort of asking you this, is are we going for a union instead of a workers' council because we're thinking the workers' council is not enough, basically?
That's a hard question. We're actually going for both, where we consider the workers' council being a tool to organize people, but at the same time, like the workers' council, one thing that it lacks is like the right to call for strikes or something like a lot of those lines. So workers' council does have some advantages, like you can actually reach out to everyone working at Gorillas, and but yeah, there's a lot of disadvantages too. But on that regard, I actually want to mention something else. Like the other day, I think we watched like some sort of video. Like there's this company called Lieferando. It's like the Just Eat, whatever, takeaway. I don't know what they're called in the UK, but I think you have them too, the orange people.
Yes, Just Eat.
Yeah. Exactly. Like there was like the company also, like they got a workers' council in a few cities back in the day, like a few years ago. But then, and like they were putting, of course, like really good PR out and everything. But I think there was like some artist collective or something that called the company pretending to be a politician or like some minister of something, and they want to talk to the company, and they're like, and the company and I think it was like some of the management people like, yeah, we need to get rid of these workers' councils. Yeah, we need to get rid of the minimum wage to them, and they put that out online, so like it's for everyone to see.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's two faces to the company after all.
It's one of these things, right? Where if the power of a union is the power comes from the union and the power that the worker has over the labor. So if something is like enshrined in law that, well, this council has to be at this company and so on, that's power that's given to you from the state and it can be taken away. But you can't take away the union because that's literally the people who do the thing.
Yeah.
So I want to just sort of talk about one more thing, which is an email you guys would have received. An email from Consumer himself, the big man.
Does it include the phrase "we're more of a family"?
It's much stranger than that. This segment comes in two pieces, right? The first piece, the reasons why Gorillas is terrible, right? That's obvious. We've covered that. The second one is why it's also very weird.
Yes, it's This is clearly it is a deeply strange man.
Because it's a company run by apes sitting at typewriters.
That's right. They coded that app and then circumvented all. What do you?
They call it Feel Good Incorporated.
So,
saving that one for about 20 minutes.
Riley doesn't get that joke because it's about music with lyrics in it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
So this is the email that was sent to you guys from your boss. Your CEO, Mr. Consumer. I I share one link. The title, Gorillas Falling into the Inexperience of CEO Consumer. We all need to read this. We all need to reflect on this. It's a perfect example of what I tell you. Focus on attraction and not distraction.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So he is...
All right.
He is a...
This is quite like Alan Johnson so far.
Yeah, he's...
All the secret.
Yeah. So it's basically...
It's
this it's much worse.
Yeah.
It gets worse as I go on. The funny thing is, they are correct on one point. I am inexperienced. I'm inexperienced to build something that has never been built before, and I love it. And I love to create the path together with you. So I feel like the first bit of this feels like it was written in a smoking area at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like pilled up cult leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like some of this Kool-Aid? It was delivered here in 10 minutes.
It says, there's a Turkish saying, if a tree gives apples, people throw stones to get the apples down. And now...
I'm always saying this.
It's making a great point about I should never listen to the Turkish, in my opinion.
And now, me as a leader and we as a team need to be aware that we give apples. We give damn beautiful, tasty, organic apples.
Well, now it's getting almost Trump. Like,
Or
ooh.
Cave Johnson.
Yeah.
The lemons.
I mean, so when you guys got this email, this strange email that later on says, if I know one thing in life, there are 2 elements of charisma. One is ghost and one is flame. How did you react?
Excuse me, it goes like pickup artist at the end.
Yeah.
This guy has got the keys to the VIP, and I respect that.
Yeah, he's the CEO. He's mystery from the pickup artist.
Yeah, that's right.
So how do you guys react to receiving this strange email?
Well, I'm part of the Gorilla Rider Live crew as well. And we were laughing all the time and thinking about the memes that we were producing with that ghost and flame thing. Because, I mean, it's a pickup artist thing. And we were like, we couldn't believe that it was this. I mean, it's the CEO of Gorillaz talking about apples, then flame, then a ghost. And it doesn't make sense at all. So we were laughing very loud that evening. No?
I love that. And you're right. He's basically feels like some patter you learn on a forum that gets shut down by the government.
Yeah.
No, I think the worst part about all of this is that, like, I think the only people that were excluded from receiving this email were writers. So, like, actually, the writers did not even get that email. Like, people from like other parts of the company were like showing it to us. So I guess he didn't feel safe sending it to us, but somehow it got to us anyways, you know, like that shows already something, you know.
It was too good to not be shared, no?
He knew you'd make fun of it.
Yeah. Well, he knew you'd get too powerful once you knew that ghost and flame trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might start throwing rocks at his apples.
Yeah.
Well, he actually explains this. He says, ghost is the ideal state when distraction comes along.
Okay.
No, you know what it is? This is the twins from the second Matrix movie.
Yeah. It's like, I am a ghost.
Yeah. I'm a ghost and I'm getting distracted, but it creates something else. It lights the flame inside. Flame is attraction. I hope you're all taking notes, by the way.
Yeah.
Ghost and flame.
The flame is when I'm eating pussy. Anyway.
Flame is when you get into a room and you own the room. Flame is a relentless drive for attraction. Jeez, this is just pickup artist shit.
It just sounds like the website of a gay club.
Flame is dedication. Flame is personality.
Actually, I take that back. It sounds like the copy of a swingers club.
Yes,
That's what it sounds like.
Flame is personality. Ladies, 20 pounds.
Yeah,
men,
that's
150
right.
pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not revenue or whatsoever, but it's about having a meaning and a purpose. So now team. So he typed it in all caps.
Join me.
He typed it in all caps.
I will point out, this is line break. So now team in all caps. Line break.
This letter is so many things to so many people, but to me, it's also a bit like Charlie and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia trying to write. It says, next 6 months, we need to be flowing between the 2 states of charisma, ghost and flame.
I'm always flowing between ghost and flame states.
Yeah.
How is this real? This happens to me a lot on this podcast, but we have to read things that have been written by people who have huge amounts of money, and you're reading them and being like, dude, what? Like, what did you want now? Like, is this a bit? Is this a Peter Serafinowicz sketch that escaped the containment field?
I think one of the many reasons that I think unionization of this sector is important is that these idiots cannot be allowed to control the economy.
Yeah, they
You-
must be stopped.
If you write something like that, you shouldn't be able to own anything.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, that if you take him to court, he's just going to get off on the grounds of being the stupidest man who has ever lived. And to be fair, you'd have to hand it to the judge on that.
It's the perfect defense.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of noting that we're sort of coming up on the half hour here. Guys, before we end, I just want to ask, like, is there anything that people in Germany or in Europe or the world more broadly can do to support guerrillas while you guys are unionizing?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things can be done. I mean, people could be putting pressure on the company, like, I don't know, making sure. Well, first of all, the main thing everyone needs to do. Look, like, I don't know how it is in London, but here, like, the typical customer is someone who lives on the 5th floor without an elevator. Sometimes even the 6th floor. We had one case; it was the 18th floor without an elevator.
Oh my God.
And
Jesus.
yeah. And these people, like, they need to understand that we're carrying like a lot of weight, that they should maybe like come down halfway to meet us. Also, no online tips, please. No online tips. Tip in cash, because online tips, they come with a paycheck at the end of the month, or maybe not even. Sometimes we're not as lucky. Tipping in cash is key, because also sometimes we've had experiences and we're trying to figure this out, but there's no way to figure it out. Like, there's this thing we're assuming it's called tip theft, where some algorithm malfunctions, or someone makes sure that the algorithm malfunctions and people don't get their full online tips. Even like, so people are like calculating, hey, how much did you give me? €2. Okay, good. I'm going to add it to my like Excel sheet or something, because like there's no way to trust this company with anything. And apart from that, something that can be done, which can be pretty significant, is, well, first of all, we have a Twitter account. We also have Gorillas Rider Life on Instagram, which does really good memes. And nicer for the public at least. And apart from that, we also created a strike fund.
Perfect.
There's it's German IBAN and everything. It's really like German, but it's working out. So we're gathering money, like, for example, whenever we do a strike, so that we can pay the workers their tips or something, or if like workers have like some legal needs or stuff that needs to be solved quickly, so that we can manage it. So it's pretty good to contribute to that. And put pressure on the company in any way you want to. There's 1,000 ways, and I will prefer not to mention any single one of them. I mean,
bully them on Twitter about the ghost flame thing.
I was going to say, please email that man about the ghost and flame thing and demand to explain it to you.
Ask him why he's ripping off the movie Hellrider.
Tip him over the edge.
I think Hellrider's the Nicolas Cage one.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, that's the one.
Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. Hellrider.
Shut up.
A Riley Quinn movie.
Look, I only know the things that I know. I don't know all the other stuff.
That's why they call me Hellrider.
Look, so we're going to include the links.
10 minutes to get to hell.
Look, we're going to include all of those links. We're going to include the links to the meme pages. We're going to include the links to the Strike Fund. We'll also include the Twitter and all this. But guys, Yasha, Fernando, thank you very much for coming and talking to us about this today. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was
thank you.
Cool.
It was a pretty good laugh for us too, like to get another perspective on the Ghost and Flame thing, and mostly the Ghost and Flame thing, actually.
We're always happy to offer that. Yeah.
We're always happy to talk Ghost and Flame.
Anyway, I have to go deliver an innocent smoothie to Pandemonium.
All right. Wow, thanks, us from the past. What an enlightening interview.
Yeah.
Past Alice.
Yeah.
Sounded great.
Yeah.
I think we all sound very handsome and beautiful.
That's right.
But before we end, I've been reading a little bit, doing a little bit of reading.
Whoa.
I've been reading The Grey Lady, as a matter of fact, the paper of record.
The
Woman in
magazine
Grey.
for GILF enthusiasts.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've been reading that magazine. And wouldn't you know it, Maureen Dowd, famous for like going to Colorado, whiteying, and then demanding that weed be made illegal again.
Yeah, she ate like a bunch of edibles to test out the concept of legal weed and then had to lie down in a dark hotel room for 2 days. And then came out of it to write the article. Yeah, weed should be illegal.
I took too much weed chocolate last night because I, first of all, wanted to sleep, and also, like, I've watched all of the TV on all of the streaming services to the extent where all that was left was season 2 of Amazon Prime's Jack Ryan, and it's not good. And I was like, I'm going to need to be really stoned to get through this.
Out of television.
Yeah. It's very bad. It's all about Venezuela. It's almost good. It's so bad. It's like it's wrapping around into like the plot makes so little sense that it is kind of And then this morning I was like still in a like hallucinatory state where like I dreamt that I'd woken up and I was like doing shit, and then I was like, well, I don't need to worry about these alarms then. And then I actually woke up and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Well,
that was an illusion.
Yet again, I've been foiled by my own brain.
Yeah.
Anyway, Maureen Dowd, let's just say, is a columnist who frequently finds herself at the mercy of her own mind.
Okay.
Who has decided to write a profile of Dara Khosrowshahi, who is the new Uber CEO.
Okay.
And
yeah, the sensible one, the adult in the room after Travis Kalanick's
absolutely. He is going through the company and he is picking up all the red cups. And he is putting all of those goofuses in Robot House on double secret probation. Now, so this is kind of the like Khosrowshahi's own story as to why he's a good CEO for Uber. Now, purely from the perspective of is this a functional organization, you might say, well, if there was to be sort of an effective manager here who was turning the company around and all this, probably they wouldn't be experiencing record staff turnover at the moment, but they are. Yeah, it's interesting.
Listen, he's he's different from the last guy, even though he's acting the same, if not worse.
Yeah, because
he's old. He went to the beach that makes you old, and that means he's responsible.
That's right. Well, it's basically right. Is Dowd is interviewing Khosrowshahi and is basically, we'll see this, is sort of
like, yo, you got me edible.
I need to make double sure it should be illegal. It is essentially just what we're seeing is someone who's doing exactly what a columnist of the New York Times should do when talking to a titan of industry, which is completely buy everything they say at surface value and fail to engage any kind of critical fact. Because again, if they engaged a critical faculty when talking to Dara Khosrowshahi, they wouldn't be writing for the New York Times.
No, of course not.
No. So let's talk about it. I was just cutting into a juicy piece of steak that the chief executive of Uber, Dara Khosrowshahi, had grilled and plopped onto my plate when one of his 8-year-old twin boys.
This writing is so
plopped it.
Apart from everything else.
Plopped it. Appetizing plop of a bit of steak.
Yeah. I love to eat food that's plopped.
Yeah, that's right.
When one of his 8-year-old twin boys asked me, who was your worst interview and who was your best? I replied
I think that the two boys said this in exact chorus.
Oh, like in The Shining.
Yeah, exactly. That's what his children are like.
Who was your worst interview and who was your best? So I replied, Kevin Costner was one of my least favorite because he was at the height of his fame and acting very sniffy. And
the idea of arrogant Kevin Costner is so funny to me. Kevin Costner is like, I'm the hottest man alive.
And this will never change. Tom Ford and Elon Musk were two of the most fun because I enjoy writing about operatic characters with out-of-this-world proclivities. So right away, she's basically giving away the game here, which is, I love jingling keys. Jingle keys in front of me, and I will write whatever you want.
Yeah.
I love a wet steak, and I love being distracted.
Yeah.
Mr.
Say, what's that over there?
Yeah. Mr.
Is it perhaps a very wet steak? Because that's the one thing that could interest me.
No, sorry. I will not just eat anything that gets plopped onto my plate. Thank you very much.
Oh no. It has to be a fully liquidized.
It needs. It's true. So, Mr. Khosrowshahi's wife, Sydney Shapiro, looked across the kitchen table at her husband with a sultry Lauren Bacall smile. These people are all so in love with their own writing.
To pick on a woman who's been dead for that long.
No one's been sultry ever since then. No. Last sultry.
No.
And who is therefore most readily remembered as an extremely old woman. That's how I remember.
And that makes Dara Khosrowshahi Clark Gable? I guess.
He's the Clark Gable of Uber. And also, by the way, just so you know, right? None of these the conditions for drivers, for example, have not improved under Khosrowshahi.
No. His wife's a fucking dime piece, apparently.
His wife is as hot as this dead
gilf.
lady.
Yeah.
His wife is a hot skeleton.
Yeah, that's right.
Hold on a second. What was his wife's name? Sarah
Sydney Shapiro.
Sydney Shapiro.
So,
Ben Shapiro's other hot sister.
We're gonna investigate this.
You need to up your eccentricity, she said teasingly. His 16-year-old son jumped in. My dad's a lizard person, he said, which is...
yeah. I've been watching videos by this guy called David Icke, and apparently...
But also, like, I think the teenager said he'd found a random post on the internet about a conspiracy theory contending that his father, Queen Elizabeth, George W. Bush, and Bob Hope are all lizard people. So that is actually what happened.
Oh.
But
that really needed an Oxford comma. His father, Queen Elizabeth.
they're reptilian aliens that can shapeshift and control the world. Just know that if you pour water on him, he will melt. So again, like this is like, whoa, the crazy this big CEO has a normal family. This is the focus of what I'm talking about.
My kids are being radicalized by anti-Semites too.
If you pour water on him off of this steak he's been cooking.
Yeah, that's right.
So basically, right, he says, Mr. Khosrowshahi is weirdly normal for Silicon Valley. He's not growing a Neanderthal beard, living off salt juice, or summering in outer space, but rather...
Anytime somebody has this article written about them, like, oh, he's so normal, he's not weird. Yeah. They are the weirdest motherfucker in the world.
Just likes
and
a wet
we're
steak.
going to return to this in like 15 years' time when some news emerges that makes this article very funny in hindsight. That's my wager.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, there's some stuff that comes up later in the article that makes it seem very weird to have this
When
opinion
I
in
first
hindsight.
met this guy, I had to ask him, what is a piss dungeon?
But also, like, do you feel like we almost like, I think that happens in truth, because Silicon Valley is a very sort of poisonous place to live and work, right? You ask, so the people we've talked to are like left that culture who now, even like talking to like Jason, who was on last week's bonus episode about this. You can tell it's very toxic. But
even just the geographical place, I've been there. It's insane.
But if you are a mainstream sort of person who's trying to write about this stuff, right? If you are a Maureen Dowd, then what you essentially see is you see the sort of pantomime villainy of Silicon Valley's individual meanness in the forms of Uber's frat bro culture, or the fact, they genuinely are like repugnantly like prejudiced and awful places.
I don't have to pledge to get a job at Uber.
You see that, but then you'll see someone who will come in and change the aesthetics. You just sort of, you're looking at the other bit of the puppet show, and you sort of, you completely just, relinquish your critical faculties, and you say, well, the good puppet won. Thank God. And then you leave the puppet show having clapped like a moronic trained seal.
Yeah, we have a good CEO now.
Thank good. We got rid of the bad one who was bro, and we have the new one in who's dad.
Yeah, well, the thing with Uber is there were just a few bad apples.
Daddy.
And
there's this is a company that, like, while Khosrowshahi was in charge, currently, right now, as recently as this year, right, has not only been has been sort of shown to be systematically underpaying Uber Eats like bicyclists and drivers and stuff, but pressures Google to take down apps from their app store that show drivers if they're being systematically underpaid. Like, if you actually care about the actual experience of the actual people working there, which, again, if you write for the New York Times, you manifestly don't. Then you'll see right past the puppet show. But what this article is all about is someone basically going to a Punch and Judy show and then being like, well, those people are awfully small. This is someone who is
going
looking
to a Punch and Judy show and cancelling him for beating his wife.
This is someone sitting in Plato's cave complaining that the wrong shadow is winning.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this is, she says, taking on one of the worst cleanup jobs in the history of American capitalism at one of the most loathed companies,
and refusing to do any of it.
He cleaned. Yeah,
that's how you do a cleanup job: is you show up, open the door, announce that you're there to clean it up, have an article written about how you're cleaning it up, and
even just like the literally even bothering to mention like a frat bro culture at Uber or whatever just suggests that like, well, the most important thing about the way this big company, which, you know, like thousands upon thousands of people work around the world for on like a kind of almost less than minimum wage basis, is like the vibes of like the most well-paid people who work there. Like, what about this
Because
person
they
being
were only
$300,000 a year who someone was rude to them
Yeah.
once because of frat?
Well, like this is the thing that they were only able to do those things because of their vibes,
Yeah.
right? Not because of any sort of economic reasons. It was because they were bros that they, you know, underpaid people.
What is a structure?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that like frat bros jump off of. I
And
think.
Yeah.
right, the thing is, right, I think it's important to mention, right, that like when we talk about like Kalanick and so on, like like he had like there was a great deal of like sort of sexual harassment allegations that flew around Uber and so on, but and like it's again, it is well and proper that he was ousted.
The thing is
Yeah.
bad, of
But
course. Like we saw with Activision Blizzard about like what an absolutely toxic office culture can be like. But like at the same time, the a lot of the sort of objection to the frat bro culture was not that they were doing these terrible things, but like it was vulgar and it was demeaning because like what we should do instead is get an adult in who like allows those things to happen and allows all of the other sort of like less directly toxic exploitation to happen, but in a mature way.
I think there's an implicit belief here as well, right? That the problems being faced by the people on the ground who are being systematically underpaid, those are sort of separate entirely from the problems of the culture there. But I think these things are so intertwined with one another that like making the shift away from the bro office to the dad office is essentially it is putting up it is ignoring the very real problem at the root of both of these things.
Yeah, well, and it also ignores what's wrong with Uber qua Uber. I mean, the fact that like it has been a toxic work environment at times does not make it materially different from any other fucking company, which is of no newsworthiness, if you see what I mean. Whereas like going like, oh, the only problem with Uber, this company that does all of these like incredibly evil things on a global scale, is that like some guys did some sexual harassment one time. Which it acts to kind of make Uber just seem just like any other company where, you know, bad things sometimes happen.
So he says, taking on one of the worst cleanup jobs in the history of American capitalism, which again, you have to be a prisoner of your own brain to be like, yep, that was it. Not, I'd say removing the triangle shirtwaist fire, never heard of it. It was Uber. At one of the most loathed companies, Mr. Khosrowshahi was like a dad that had come to mop up after the frat party, put away all the solo cups, and get the vomit off the marble floor.
Quite easy to get vomit off a marble floor, actually. It's not a very porous
comes right
surface. Yeah, just mop it. Pretty straightforward.
But also, what dad's coming into a frat party to be like, well, time to clean up?
Cool dads.
Cool dads coming to wipe the vomit off the floor of a frat party.
That's so awesome. You just like wake up after the frat party. You don't even need to clean up because your dad's just done it all.
Yeah, your dad's done it.
So-
Yeah. Cool. Dad.
This next sentence though is very
I
funny.
hope you boys had fun.
This next sentence is very funny. He came into a nightmare, said Barry Diller, who, juggling calls from his yacht, helped him nab the job after the terrible board deadlocked between Jeffrey Immelt and Quibi's Meg Whitman. She's everywhere.
She's back.
You cannot fail enough.
We've got to bring some maturity to this. What do we get? Quibs.
Yeah, we need some quibs.
Yeah, we need the golden arm. We need to involve. There's Uber Black and Uber Golden Arm. You get pulmonary gold disease.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I want a self-driving car, but it's the car actually turns the wheel with a big golden arm.
But it's the simple fact of Meg Whitman being present at every is it for some reason, is there a law in America that like Meg Whitman has to be considered for every position?
She's like the fucking Grim Reaper. She just like appears when shit's about to go wrong.
Universal Basic Meg. Every company it gets the possibility.
So Khosrowshahi's vision for the company is of broadening the delivery, being the sort of broadening the delivery of getting anything to anywhere else.
Okay.
Saying, right now, I dream about pushing a button and getting a piano delivered to your home in an hour and a half. I think that'd be really cool.
What? Are you a child?
What?
No, he's a dad.
Why?
who would make that sort of a purchase? Who would
I need a
buy
piano immediately.
Who would buy a piano on a whim? Like, other than like a coked up Saudi prince, like, which you're limiting your market. Like, who? What?
I also like it's I think what he's trying to get at is like there are a bunch of different places that have like logistics arms. He'd like to be the logistics arm for everything, logistics as a service, blah blah blah.
Right.
But sort of cashing that out in terms of what if you get a piano really fast?
I want to see a guy on a moped delivering a piano.
I love the idea that it was like I choose to take him 100% literally, and he means only pianos. It's like the third thing. You can get like a car somewhere, you can get some food delivered, or you can get a piano.
Yeah, Uber Brahms.
Yeah.
So
Uber Brahms.
So now he says this is so. Also, we know that the phrase post-pandemic is kind of a meaningless one, but so everyone sort of seems to be seeing the world in that way. So let's do that with them. So thinking post-pandemic, he says, now that parts of the world are getting back to calling for rides again, and it will stay that way forever, they're suddenly way more expensive, 40% more. And thanks to Uber, there are now far fewer taxis to take them. Whoops. Oops. We destroyed the industry. We did not know how to. Yeah.
I'm sure the drivers are reaping the benefits of that.
Well, they're reaping the benefits in flexibility. You know.
Yeah, and also I assume money.
Oh well, I mean, look, I was gonna check, but there's no app to check. There used to be an app to check that, but it seems to be gone.
Oh.
No, we have to assume based on vibes, and I assume that those vibes.
That's a dad vibe. Now, you know what it's going to be? It's Dara Khosrowshahi has a dad vibe. He's going to slip every driver a 20 in their birthday card.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to like tousle their hair.
Off you go.
You little scamp. Go deliver a piano.
Run along. So.
Dara Khosrowshahi slips a piano into the boot of your Uber.
Hey,
don't play it all at once.
Don't tell your mother about this. It's just a full, like, grand piano in there.
Those Priuses have more spacious boots than people think.
It says now that, like, think about that, right? Like, we need a lot more rides, but this sort of attempt of a monopolist came in, fucked up being a monopolist quite badly, destroyed the rest of the industry, and didn't really fill the gap.
Amazing.
It's not where we need to be right now, Mr. Khosrowshahi conceded. And
gonna get an Uber there.
And right, and then this is the part, right, that really just absolutely fucking. This is the part where Dowd is just being taken for the rube that she is. Where she basically says, "Look, Dara, I've read somewhere that your business is not viable long term without self-drive, unless you can get cars to self-drive. But that doesn't. But like we've all realized that's probably. I mean, I, Maureen Dowd, think that's still happening because I'm a grade A moron.
Yeah.
But everyone else seems to think that's not going to happen.
People smarter than me, which is everyone, have decided that it's not.
Doesn't Uber have to charge a lot more for the rides, or find some way to pay drivers even less? Isn't this fundamentally at odds with treating workers humanely, which you seem to want to do? Mr. Khosrowshahi demurred, saying Proposition 20... Now, here's the thing. A journalist, I feel, should ask a follow-up question here, right? Or maybe a couple. Mr. Khosrowshahi... Yeah.
Or you like lunge at him over the table with a knife.
Said that Proposition...
Legally.
Not investment rights. Do not do that if you're a journalist. Mr. Khosrowshahi demurred, saying that Proposition 22, which we'll of course all remember, was basically the like Uber doesn't like minimum wage. We don't care to pay it, so we're going to basically fund a giant disinformation campaign aimed at the citizens of California to make basically have them agree that we can keep paying less than minimum wage.
Remember when the government used to do that? It's a shame all this outsourcing.
So Proposition 22, that ballot measure in California that I just talked about, never could have passed in the bluest of blue states unless a lot of drivers supported it. So they like actually this situation.
Yeah, this is good to them.
It's like, look, come on. Logically, California is a blue state, right? So like, obviously nothing saying that we, a giant...
You can't like... influence an election.
No, couldn't possibly be.
And obviously, like Uber drivers are a substantial constituency in the state of California, so nothing gets by them.
Yeah, and more than that, though, that I guess we have to conclude that it won, and elections are always the measure of what everyone wants.
Why do you hate democracy?
He then went on to say, our system doesn't work for a certain percentage of drivers who can't figure it out and who can't understand how to make it work.
I hate this guy so fucking much.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, how come? Stop underpaying yourself. Stop underpaying yourself. Stop underpaying yourself.
Have you tried being smarter?
I do think that for that percentage, and it's probably about 10% of your drivers, but you're talking about 10% of a million drivers on the road. That's a lot of people who want to earn, and our system isn't working properly for. I do think we have to build better safeguards for people who can't make our system work the way that they want it to work, or we're willing to work with regulators to have certain safeguards like minimum earnings.
The system, you're just employing them at your company, which you run for a profit. You're their boss. You're not providing them with a system they can use independently. If they're smart enough, you are their employer.
Well, the thing is, anytime it's like, you know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like someone who's trying to sell a superfood that you actually just sell to other people in a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. You're not like losing weight on these like nutritional milkshakes made primarily of cardboard because you're not like adhering to the system well.
But also, it's when a business venture is described as a system, right? And you're gonna make, and it's not so much a job as a lifestyle. Actually, that's always a pyramid scheme. It's always a scam. Someone is always treating you as a mark if they're saying, "Oh, it's not employment. It's the vigor system or whatever." They are trying to treat you like a mark. And again, New York Times journalists love to be treated as a mark. And again, so follow-up questions for this? Nope. He's like, yeah. Well, look, we may have astroturfed a campaign to make it legal for us to pay less than minimum wage. If we didn't do this, our business would be non-viable. But because that astroturfing campaign worked, I can only assume that it was legitimately popular. Anyway, for everyone who doesn't like it, we'll do something for them. And she was like, let me ask about your family now. So
aren't these two kids just adorable? The way they talk in sync like that.
So, in 1979, when Dara was 9, his family fled Iran to escape the revolution, leaving, wait for it, the fortune they'd made from their large pharmaceutical and cosmetics company. Hey!
Ding, ding, ding.
The Ayatollah took my family's business. Wouldn't you know it? Anyway, they moved to an uncle's mansion in New York before getting a condo.
Nice. Imagine if an Ayatollah came here and took our podcast. Imagine how we would feel.
Yeah, probably.
We would have to
Not very
move
good,
to our uncle's mansion.
But then, here's the crazy thing, right? He then was taken under the wing of a man named Herbert Allen Jr., and I'm sure for some listeners...
have you seen the documentary The Master?
So, Herbert Allen Jr., right, is a guy who, again, if you're one of the listeners who knows who that is, your third eye should be open at this point. He's the guy who's now in charge of an extremely secretive investment bank that's entirely family run, so it's private, completely private, called Allen and Company, right? And they're mainly famous for running what are called the Sun Valley conferences, where again, it's sort of like a Bilderberg group, but like a little bit south. You know, it's
okay.
But El
Bilderberg Grupo Tropicana,
or where they burn the owl. It's basically like Bohemian Grove, but like with more sort of Sundance vibes. But the thing is, right? The other thing about Allen is that he is so intelligence connected.
That's just called having friends and hanging out with cool guys.
No one dodgy has ever been connected with the intelligence community because they would find out if you were dodgy because they know stuff. They've got access to your phones.
It's called the intelligence community because it's just a bunch of guys who are smart.
Yeah, that's right. They're like really good at
why
Scrabble.
would you want to hang out with smart guys?
So, for example, right, George Tenet was a director at Allen and Co. Yeah, from the film. He was a
friend of the show.
He was a director at Allen and Co. After he was head of the CIA. And Mike Pompeo came and spoke at a Sun Valley conference a few years ago. And also, it's interesting how this small, secretive, family-run investment bank that doesn't have any of the obvious resources of a Goldman or whatever seems to find itself just in the earliest and most profitable funding rounds for some of the biggest tech companies in history, like Google, or advising Facebook on its slam dunk multi-billion-dollar acquisitions like WhatsApp.
If there were a word, I wish there were a phrase, some kind of expression you could use for somewhere where you could keep a lot of money that you would silo off of your main money, some kind of like fund of some kind.
Yeah, like a snow fund.
Yeah, or a puppy fund.
Maybe like a liquid stake fund.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be. We should invent that. But yeah, and also like interesting how it was the scion of like you might say the scion of a major politically connected right-wing wealthy Iranian family ends up being in charge of one of the biggest forces that are union busting, having been basically raised in part by a CIA-connected investment banker.
I'm sorry. Are you really suggesting that the American intelligence community would have anything to do with Iran or like Iranian expatriates?
Oh, I mean,
because that's a little far-fetched for me.
No, hang on. Sorry, I'm just getting an. Now, it's going to be pretty embarrassing, but I actually thought
he's standing right behind me, isn't he? The entire CIA
that's right.
are also on the call.
Yeah, Alice, you're going to feel really stupid about this, but there's a guy in a balaclava with a silence pistol behind you, and he's heard everything you've just said.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Anyway, what's the MEK? So anyway, with leaving all that aside, right? Because it's just, is that a weird coincidence that all of those things happen together? The article concludes.
It's crazy how we keep like uncovering things that like may or may not be linked to the intelligence community.
Disruption, once the mantra of Silicon Valley, has now become a dirty word. No, it hasn't. What are the ethical boundaries of disruption? I do think there's power in a name, Khosrowshahi said. Our system is called capitalism. It's designed to optimize the long-term growth of capital.
Yeah, why don't we call it nice?
Yeah, why not?
When people wonder, well, aren't capital owners' advantage over labor? It's not called laborism, but he mused that sometimes the system...
Oh, fuck, dude, it's really not. It's not called laborism. Yeah. He's so
To be fair,
smart.
there is something called laborism, and it also sucks as well, because it's related to the British Labour Party. But he mused that sometimes system works too well. I think capitalism has its claws. Yeah.
I think it's actually been too successful.
He says, I think that capitalism has its claws in our democratic societies in ways that has allowed it to overly optimize for its benefit, said the man who was in charge of astroturfing the Prop 22 campaign to get California voters.
Overly optimize. This is incredible too, because like, look, it's a hack observation by this point. We've said it so many times, but like, you can't optimize into a system which like destroys the planet, right? Like once that's happened and once you've locked in that happening, your making number go up is not in fact optimization.
For nobody is that optimizing.
Absolutely nobody is being optimized there.
And again, the none of these sort of musings seem at all discontinuous to New York Times, because stuff like because all of these things, because for the New York Times to be the New York Times, everything has to sit in its little boxes, and all of it sort of has to be separate little things, and everything is about what it looks like on the surface.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you ask a follow-up question, then maybe you should go, I don't know, maybe you should go work for the New Republic or whatever, because you don't belong here.
Right, that's the Trashfuture policy.
Yeah. Anyway,
everything is as it seems, listener.
So that was Maureen. I've noticed we've been going for a while. That was Maureen Dowd writing this just fantastically brain-dead puff piece on Dara Khosrowshahi.
Thank you, Maureen.
So
we enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for that piece of writing. I loved to read and think about it. Anyway, I think that's about it for today for us. So don't forget to check us out on the bonus episode. $5 a month. You get a second episode every week.
Please, we need you to optimize our system.
Can you optimize our system?
Yeah,
quickly.
Come in and optimize us. Yeah, can you just quickly optimize me?
And
if you sit on the optimization, it feels like somebody else is optimizing it.
This week we talked about the billionaire space race with Dwight from Eat the Rich. It was a great conversation, so do check that out.
That was a great episode.
Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.